Welcome, everyone. When taking on the position of First Vice President, one of the responsibilities is choosing programs for the luncheons each month. That's going to be fun. Yeah. Actually, it has been. It's been a lot of fun. And it was easier than I thought because everyone is so generous with giving ideas and thoughts about who we should actually be having. One evening when I was on my computer on YouTube, I was searching for something for the American Indians. And I stumbled across a few videos that had actually come into what I was researching. And it was actually Julia. She was doing a presentation for the Northwest Indiana Arts Association at Lake County Public Library. And one of the members, Joanne Soros, was introducing Julia at this program. And I thought, oh, I have to watch this. I love these two ladies. And I did, and I found it actually fascinating. Well, about a week later, on a Tuesday night at Scrementi's, my husband and I walked into Scrementi's, and of course, we looked around, and here was Julia and her husband having dinner. My first thought was, I have to have this woman. I have to have her do a presentation. She is so talented and so compassionate about her work. I hope everyone enjoys today's program as much as I did watching it on YouTube. Please welcome our guest, Julia.
All right, I'm so happy to be here today. I should be used to this, just did one, but you still get nervous. So I'll start by telling you that my passion started many years ago. In the early 90s, my husband and I took a trip to Santa Fe, and we meet 4 other people, and it was the most wonderful time I ever spent. I met the Santa Clara Indians, who invited me in immediately to see her work and watch her work. So I photographed her with the clay because her hands were so important. So her name is Mary Kane, but she goes by Blue Rain. And that was the first Indian I painted. And we've been there 3 or 4 times visiting the family. So I went back to Santa Fe a few years later, and I met this woman. And it's fascinating, fascinating. I called it Mother Earth because she was like Mother Earth. And I forget what I did a few paintings of her, but this is my favorite. This is Miguel. I was at a wedding. My sister's daughter was getting married in California. And so after the wedding, we went over to La Jolla. And we went into this hotel, and the bar was, you just saw the ocean, and in walks this man with this outfit on and a feather in his hair. And I said to my husband, I have to paint him, and I have to meet him. And he said, please, don't do that, you know. So up I went, and on the balcony, I stood there and talked to him a while, found out about him, asked him if I could photograph him. He was delightful. And he was a wrestling teacher at the university there in California. And he was a Yaqui Indian. I think you've heard of that tribe. But after I painted him a few times, I would go back and forth. I saw him once after that. Then I asked my sister, I haven't heard from him, would you check on him? Because she lived in California at the time. She went and checked, and he had already passed away. So I lost him. The story of this man, this is Gary Silk, and I suppose you know Dr. Quaid. She's a chiropractor in Crete. First, she was in South Holland, and then in Crete. And she had these Indians over her home, and she put them up. She called me and said, "Julia, you got to meet these Indians. You know how you love Indians." So she invited me to her home, and I met him and his companion, Zita. But he said, "If you paint me, you must call it Rider in the Storm," because he was the one that rode through Yellowstone. I have a painting of it coming up. He rode through Yellowstone to fight against what they were doing to the Indians, taking them off their land, and he was another wonderful person. Then I painted, this one I painted, he's got in his horse, and I photographed him here, and this painting was in the Bloomingdale building with Mr. Lawton, because he loved this painting, you know. So I am selling it now. So someone wants to buy it, and I said, okay, I could sell it now, because Mr. Lawton passed away, and I wouldn't do it before that. Well, anyway, let's go to the next one. This is his companion that he came with, and her name is Zita, and they rode those horses all the way from North Dakota to Crete, but they were gonna go, I'll tell you the story. Clinton was the president at the time, and he did not honor the treaty, so he rode from North Dakota all the way to Crete, stayed at Dr. Quaid's home, and then they both rode. There was cars behind them, but they rode to Washington to see Clinton, but they stopped him before he got to the White House. They wouldn't let him in, but that was some story. Anyway, he did do Yellowstone, and they used this painting on their T-shirts when they did Yellowstone, and right after that, he passed away. I lost more people. You don't want me to paint you, do you? This is a drawing of Zita with the horse, and I think this is the drawing. This is when he rode to Yellowstone. So he sent me the picture because I wasn't there while he rode that, but I painted that afterwards. So I went back to Santa Fe again. These are two girls that I saw sitting there while this other one combed her hair, and I talked to them. They were sisters. So I called it the sisters, but they were just darling, sitting on the blanket, and that's where I met the most wonderful people in Santa Fe. I'm gonna have to go back. This was also, I took this picture in Santa Fe. She's standing there and with that dog. It was the most beautiful scene, and I don't know how I got it, but I caught it with the camera, and I called it Faithful Friends, because they were so beautiful together. This is also her. Yeah, this one is going to Florence, Italy in December, in the same building where David is. David stands outside, and one inside and one outside. Yeah. So that's where my piece is going again. I'm so happy. One of my friends went to Washington for the parade, the American Indian Parade, Washington opened a American Indian Museum, and she went to see it. And she took these pictures. She took the picture of the parade. The one on the left is the parade, and the one on the right, she took this picture of them, these three Indians sitting there. I put the fence because, and I put the Capitol building in the back because they finally are included in as an American. So these two pieces I found, I forgot where I found these two photographs, and I painted them because I loved them. And they reminded me of all the Indians too. One is called the water carrier and the corn gatherer. And I did them for the Chicago bicentennial. It was 18 or 19. I forget what year it was. But it was the 200 years of Illinois. And I happened to get the Cultural Center for that. I was so excited that I got it for that. So I had these in there, and my doctor bought them. So that was the end of those. This I did for that same show because it was so much of America, with Lincoln and Martin Luther King and what they did together. They both had the same feeling and idea. And so I gave it to the Cultural Center, so they have it there. So that's hanging there. If you ever go in there, that's where it's at. Now you know who that is, right? And he was supposed to be here for this.
Oh, he doesn't.
Yeah, but he was going to come. So, and the next one, I know you're going to know the next person too. You know who it is? It's Charles Lawton. Yeah. And that hangs in his, it's when you first walk in. So, I was in his gallery at the Bloomingdale building for probably 5 years. It was nice. And he sold a lot of paintings, I'll tell you that. This is the fireman that I painted for 9/11. That was another one of my good experiences when I got the call that they wanted me to do one of the fallen firemen. So there was 59 artists that were picked to do those firemen, and they traveled the whole United States, and it ended up in Ronald Reagan Library. That was where it was ended, and then all the family met at the site of 9/11, and they all got the painting. They all were presented with the painting. So what I do have is a print though, because every 9/11 I take them out. But I had them on the porch on my patio in the front of the house, and I put them on a table, and then I told the whole neighborhood to come and see Charlie and Naya. I have to say hello to them every year. It's very important to me. So this is a sculpture. Then I studied downtown with some of the best sculptors, and she was a model for me, beautiful model. Oh. So her name is Amelia. And then last but not least, these are all my girlfriends. Now you do see Judy Kerr in there. Timmy Battaglia. Judy, what's her name? In the green. Shirley Murray. Yes, thank you. Shirley Murray. Here's Barbara Wayne sitting to the right. Anyway, I've lost a lot of them already. So, and I named it happy hour, but they didn't like that. They said, oh, please don't do that. I said, but that was happy when we were together, wasn't it, Barb?
What?
Wasn't it happy when we were all together doing that?
I have it in my kitchen and every day I look at it.
Yeah, so, but they didn't like that I named it happy hour.
I love it.
I just want to tell 2 little stories, if you don't mind, okay? By the way, if you ever want to look it up, the fireman thing is called The Face of Courage, and was a wonderful thing. Don't you just listen to the names every year when they read off the names? I wait until they say Charles and Naya. I think, oh, look at that, isn't that something? But anyway, when I did, I also studied at the Terra Museum. I was a docent for a while, but that was hard work. That was really hard work. I want to tell you a story about when I did the Cultural Center with the Bicentennial. I painted Louis Armstrong because he played in Chicago too, and he was born in Chicago. So I painted him, and one of my friends in Chicago had also had a show depicting people that were from Chicago, and it was the greatest time that year. And so he asked me if I would be in it and send that Louis Armstrong. So I did. Well, here's what happened. He called me and said, Julia, my mother has Alzheimer's and was trying to tell me about something, but I couldn't understand what she was saying. Finally, as usual, I said, what are you talking about? She asked me to take her and open that box. He pulled a painting out. It was the Louis Armstrong. And she said, that's him. And he said, who? She remembered who he was. And he said, I haven't heard anything from her in years. And she remembered who Louis Armstrong was. And I said, the painting is hers. So he kept it for her, and just recently she passed away too. But that was one of the best things that happened to me. Anyway, I wanted to tell that story, and one other. I was in a show downtown. It was connected with the art, with the Merchandise Mart. It was on the side of the Merchandise Mart. It was called Gallery 350. And it was about the human form. My son owned this painting that he loved, so I gave it to him. And it was of the back of a woman. And I thought, that's human form. I'll send that. I borrowed it from him. And got a call saying, we need your permission to use it on the postcard. And I said, yeah, you can do that. So Judy Curran went with me. And we get there and we walk in the door, and the posters and everything was that painting. And so they said, they had the book opened and it was in the newspaper and everything. They said, congratulations, you won the purchase award. See? And so when we were going, I said to Judy, what am I going to do? It's not my painting, it's my son's. So she said, so we're on the way home, and she said, what's his telephone number? So she calls him on the phone, and she said, Scott, I got good news and bad news. Right?
Right.
She said, the good news is your mother won the first #1 award. Oh, he said, that's great. She said, the bad news is
It was your piece, and it's the purchase award. It's gone. So that was it, right, Sue? Thank you all.